Hello there, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be going over Child's Play 2. So this is one of my perfect examples of a sequel that does better than the original. So it's immediately amped up. Brad Dourif is back as the voice of Chucky. Alex Vincent is back as Andy Barkley, the little boy. And this is such a natural story progression for me. Child's Play obviously did so well that it needed a sequel, and I really love this because to me this is what solidified Chucky as being a serious killer in my book, because the fact that the first one was so scary and he was so unkillable at the end of it, but that they put him to rest was obviously a good end. But the fact that he has a sequel, that he quite literally comes back, is something that just really stuck with me whenever I was younger, that it's like he'll always find a way to follow you. It's like I knew even then that this franchise would be, a number of installments long. This once again tells the story of Charles Leeray trying to get out of his possessed doll body and into a human form. And with all of that being said, I think we should get into Child's Play 2. This is definitely a fan favorite amongst the franchise and amongst people. It's really talked about a lot. It's usually at the top of most people's rankings whenever you see people rank them. And that's honestly because it's one of the better paced films. It has more action, more comedy, more horror, more suspense, but it also has more of the, animatronics from the doll. It really shows us. It doesn't hold back anything. And that's what I really love about this, is in the first one, it takes a while to set up the world and the character. And that's why I love sequels in general, is because you don't have to put in that effort to understand people. You already can go into them liking the characters. So because of all of the emotional work we put into the first one, we jump right off in the bat with Chucky being full swing. He's exactly himself the way he was. And it leaves for a more fun and a more watchable movie because he's kind of controlling it. He's taking more of a front seat, and he's kind of the driving aspect of this film in this one. He is a good counterpart to the kid Andy, and I think that really speaks well to what they were trying to do, because the core of this franchise when it starts off is it's child horror. Like the main character is a kid, and that's a really fun aspect. And we have that being, a little bit of a twist on that is that he's got a foster sister in this one. So in each installment, you don't want to, rehash exactly the same thing as last time. That's kind of the thing that they get really right in this movie, because everybody tends to love Kyle. They love her relationship with Andy, and I really do too. I just remember being so thrilled with this one whenever they were resurrecting him and bringing him back, and he was doing so much to get to Andy so fast, and he really got there and, swapped places with the other one. And I love that Andy is in a foster care system. It's something that's kind of unexplored, and we have the advantage of getting to develop the character a little bit more. This is something rough in his childhood that happens to him on top of everything in the first movie, so he's having to learn how to navigate life in this difficult situation, on top of another difficult situation, which is being hunted down by Chucky. They have a lot of fun with this film by making him downright scary and witty and charming and smart. One of the favorite kills that I have in this movie is whenever he's fucking with the teacher and he ends up beating her to death with the yardstick. They call back to that at one point in the franchise. And just seeing the way that the puppets are able to make this doll look really, really well. Everybody tends to like the look of Chucky in this movie, and I really do as well too. They're kind of basing the new TV series off of how he was in this movie, the tone, and his kind of like aspect, his characteristics, and I'm really excited to be able to see that. Some of the scariest parts of this movie to me, especially whenever I was younger, were the nighttime parts, wherever he's in the basement or wherever Chucky's, zooming through the house trying to get to him. And I just was struck with so much anxiety, and like I said from the first one, it really stuck with me and it haunted me, and it made me feel like there was a presence in my house. And that just goes to show how strong Chucky is, and what that, sick personality of his really says about him, is that he is a menacing presence, and he will leave you terrified, whether it's through, whatever it is that he decides to do. Now, we're kind of getting to the point where no one really believes Andy, and Chucky is becoming more of a serious threat, and we start to take up Kyle's perspective. Now, she has experienced a lot of these weird going-ons that have been happening, and she's just trying to figure out and navigate the situation with all of this death, and coming to the conclusion very fast that Chucky may be real. And one of the scariest parts for me that I loved when I was younger is when she discovers that the bodies have been switched when she's on the swing outside. And that's that moment in that character, and it's the actress is so good, you can see on her face, it's that moment of when she gets the truth. She can never go back. You can never go back, whether you're in that situation or whether you're watching this film. That's the turning point. That's the beat in this script where everything shifts, everything's different. This is where we get our final climax, like everything is going to be elevated from here. And talk about elevation, this finale is one of the best finales in the franchise, and everyone agrees on that. Taking this to the home of the doll, the factory, where there's a bunch of Chuckies, it literally almost just makes sense. It's like a perfect full circle. The opening of the first one starts off in a toy store where there's a bunch of dolls, and then it kind of ends, and we get to the root of the problem where there's the factory. And it's just such a creative concept, and it's one of the things that's haunted me the most was this setting. I love where locations are and where traumatic events happen, and if it's in a cool environment or in a cool terrain, that just adds to the story and to the struggle of the characters, and is such an aesthetic thing too. Seeing all of those yellow boxes that look like this one full of all the dolls, which is completely haunting, and you never knew if maybe he would pop out of this one or pop out of that one, or could there be several? You just never knew. And there was dolls all over the factory, and this chase that they're going through is haunting, and it just keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it shows you how scary Chucky is, because he is constantly figuring out a way to cut corners or run them up the ramp, and he's just brutal and badass, and he is serious, he means business, he is dangerous, quite literally is killing lots of people at any time. And I think that that's one of my favorite aspects, is that he is so menacing and so scary, and the fact that he goes after, well, it's not specifically that he goes after children, but that he's going after a child because of his secret and how the voodoo stuff is supposed to work. And you eventually learn that he ends up spending too much time in his body and he becomes trapped. That's when he gets fucking pissed, and that's, like I said, when this entire finale of this franchise is going down, or this installment, is because he is out for revenge at this point. He just wants to cause as much harm as he can, and he's totally taking advantage of the fact of how terrifying he is. And they try to put him down several times, and he just keeps coming at them, and they finally melt him with plastic and, implode him with air. And he's, finally dead. They've exploded him. His remains are running down from the factory, and I just really, really loved being able to watch such an amazing installment whenever I was younger growing up and having my mind blown away. And even now, still, it's one of the ones that are as higher up on the list for me, because the writing is good, the pacing is good, and oh my goodness, the theme music, I hadn't even talked about that yet. It's so haunting, and it's, very childlike, and, kind of like a child musical instrumental kind of stuff. And I really think that it makes it so creepy and so twisted innocent at the same time. So something else I talked about was the voice of Chucky being played by Brad Dourif. They got him back in this installment. Now he's, been the voice of Chucky throughout the entire franchise, but I'm sure, people didn't know what it was going to be back then, and I just really appreciate that it stays consistent. He does just as good of a voiceover as ever, if not better in this one, just like kind of all of the other aspects, I think. Whenever I was talking about this being an example of a sequel that does better or outdoes the original, there are so many instances where people agree and disagree on things, but I think for the most part that it's genuinely accepted, the fact that this is one of those circumstances. And how special is that? Because it doesn't take away from Child's Play 2 at all, or it doesn't take away from the first one at all. If anything, the second one is so good, and even though it outblows the first one, it kind of elevates the first one as well. You know, they're so good because of each other. So I appreciate that aspect, and the Chucky of it all, and the Brad Dourif of it all. I'm so glad that he voices this character and that he does such a good laugh. I think it's like my favorite, you know, serial killer laugh. It's so maniacal, and it gives me chills every time. So yes, that was my review for Child's Play 2. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments. Did you like this one better? How do you feel about Chucky in this one? Is he a better presence to you? Do you feel like he was just as scary? Or do you feel like maybe you would prefer him to be not as witty, like maybe he was in the first one? Tell me what you were thinking about the factory scene, because that tends to be a very popular topic among the fans. And let me know if Chucky terrified you at all as a child. I love this franchise. I watch it all the time, and I watch it every year for Halloween, and Chucky is one of my favorite serial killers, so I am enjoying being able to go over these, and I'm excited to be able to go over Child's Play 3. I actually didn't know that one existed for the very long time, but yeah, I have thoughts about that one, so I'm looking forward to being able to go and getting into that. Once again, this is my box set of all of the Chucky movies, and I love it, and it's because of this movie that I love it. Now, of course, he's in the box in the first movie, but just like I said, the whole factory of dolls and the boxes everywhere makes it so haunting, and you never know if he's going to pop up in one or many. Maybe that'll come up in a future thing. But I actually always kind of wanted that when I was younger. I was like, oh my god, there's more than one Chucky doll, but like, he's the only one that's possessed. I was like, what if there was more than one that was possessed? And what if they tackled that someday? But yeah, I definitely love being able to see him through the window of this set here. I think it's really, really cool and really creepy. And like I said, I love Chucky so much, so this is fun to have for me. Well, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out some of my other videos. I've done a bunch of different genres, and I plan to do a bunch more. I've also done some location visits, and I've gone over some of the cool items that I have. So be sure to check those things out and check back for whenever I post something new. And once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. All right, bye.